Hello, everyone. This is Evelyn Goodman from Berlin, and I'm together with an exciting colleague today, Jay Latta. We can all learn something from him, I imagine, and he's going to tell his story to us in a minute. Greetings from Berlin. Jay, where are you on Earth today?
Right now, I'm stranded in Munich since a whole year.
I can imagine. So that was also actually a ironical question in a way, asking where are you on Earth today? The world has been confined by COVID, and today there is no way around. But I'm going to ask you a couple of questions in and around COVID as well as an expert of digitalization and innovation. For those who don't know anything about you, so me as a fan, I know everything to know about you. However, just can you just say who you are and what is your DNA when doing your job?
Yeah, sure, of course. Pleasure. Thanks for the invitation. Well, to the audience, I'm in the technology business and innovation since, let's say, 35 years. So since my first crash together with a computer, modifying everything in my younger ages, I've even been quite active as a hacker. So this is what really beats in my pulsating heart. I've been in several corporates. My history is quite colorful. I've always paid attention not to get too stuck into just one industry because it's boring. So cross-industry is something where I simply hop from one company to another, always more or less in technology and innovation. My last gig in a corporate was for the BMW Group. My latest position was innovations manager, directly reporting to my mentor, Peter Schwarzenbauer. And we've done several really cool projects. But how it is, automotive alone is boring because automotive is just this coffin on wheels. And so 11 years ago, I simply wanted to do a bit more, explore new things, because technologies are not isolated islands anymore. They are interconnected. So I founded my own think tank. It's called STINT, Strategic Intelligence for New Technologies. Simply, as I started to or do research on the prerequisites of new technologies, like why do we need an UBI? How should data privacy of the future look like? Even some pandemic scenarios were part of it, how to predict it. And from the simply doing paperwork, position papers and so on, even for some politicians, it developed into becoming a very visible public speaker, international speaker, being invited to several events to explain what technologies, what is their impact, even what digital transformation is like. So this is briefly my background.
Yeah, I mean, amazing, amazing. I know a little bit the background and the projects you've worked on, so that's why we cannot talk enough about them in a way. However, let me move on with you started 35 years ago, probably in a very humble manner, and then you just said automobile industry is boring, so then you changed the jungle probably, and when you change the jungle, things change one of a sudden completely. But as I understand the core, you always kept an eye in the automobile industry and what's have been going on there, and that's why I'd like to change the role of my questions immediately. Where does the automobile industry going? I mean, what I'm watching, going back to Berlin and Shanghai over the years, that can we beat? Let me just break the question down. Can we beat China with they have become the master of the electric cars in the recent years. So, and BMW, Porsche, etc., German brands are just way too behind it, don't you think?
To be honest, German cars, the German approach on engineering is an outdated one. Maybe we should leave this German being over perfect. We'll explain this in a few, and maybe becoming a bit more experimental and curious like the US, not like China. Chinese are very, very strict in doing these processes. They are very good in copy and paste. With innovation, it's slightly something different because they have no issue with simply hiring a whole department, a whole research department. So these people relocate to China and work on their magic. Even from some startups that I have been advising, whenever we've been invited to show our magic in China, it did not end it very well. So they are very clever. They know what they are doing. They are very forward thinking, like what to acquire, where to get it from. This eternal misunderstanding of China, that it's such a huge player. I mean, come on, they are 1 point whatever billion people. It's a huge market, but you have a really scattered landscape. These super high-end and rich people are in the hotspots. Outside, rural areas and so on, it's nothing comparable. So their power comes really from this massive workforce. But workforce does not mean 1.4 billion customers. This is simply a fairy tale, and this orientation towards, if you see, for example, the latest numbers from the German automotives, especially BMW, 30% of the revenue comes from China. Yeah, this is nice, but it does not mean you can raise it how you would like to, because if you want in China, if you want your driving license, it does not mean you simply go to a Fahrschule, pay for it, and then you have it. It's a lottery, and it's expensive. You know it. You've been there several times. When you have a driving license, it does not mean you are allowed to own a car. This is a second lottery.
10,000 euros, yes.
Exactly. So this kind of complete misunderstanding what the authorities, what China as an entity wants, and what we would like to do like businessmen is simply not compatible. The approach of China is simply to more or less keep away cars from the streets because it requires infrastructure. This infrastructure, these resources you can spend somewhere else. So they are extremely active into supporting public transportation. In China, you've seen it, how reliable, how clean, how cheap, how fast trains are. Correct. This is really amazing. So this also serves this understanding and expectations and needs of the future generations. This is the second huge misunderstanding in the classic industry, where we have German automotives, or no, global automotives have completely messed up the relationship towards their clients. Since 60 years, we are telling the same stories. It's about driving pleasure. It's about advantage of technology. It's about going. This is nonsense. So we've made this product so emotional that people, especially in Germany, even can't imagine that a car with a combustion engine will not exist anymore. This is a tragedy. So here comes the next generation, Generation Y, Generation Z, the millennials, and so on and so on. I know a lot of them that don't have a driving license because they grew up in Hamburg, in Munich, in Berlin. You don't really need a driving license. You don't need a car. The most important thing is this here. This is our brain extender. So having this with all of these apps and getting mobility as a service is the most important. This is what the automotives are simply not understanding. Automotives are a classic company, a classic approach. in our hearts, we are engineers. So the approach from the tech companies, I mean, you've read it maybe in 2019 in the newspapers when Volkswagen stated, we want to become a competitor of Apple.
Yeah.
Seriously? Come on.
Exactly.
It's understanding data. And here is, for example, something that yesterday I had in a keynote, digital transformation. Digital is, or it gives us the imagination that IT, compute science will solve all of our problems. Transformation has a start and an ending point. And this is completely wrong. Digital transformation is a sub-transformation of an overall transformation. And a transformation is an ongoing process. If we simply stand still, in German, wer rastet, der rostet, you will lose everything. You need to reinvent yourself again and again. You need to stay curious. So it's about, in fact, every transformation is in fact a mindset transformation. The digital transformation, if we sum it up, if we compress it into one sentence, it is to be able on real-time data, getting real-time insights, to react in real time. Our culture, our corporate culture is very backwards looking because we are getting our reports, our reviews, if it's monthly, bi-weekly, whatever. Data is always looking into the past, not into the future. So our managers demand from us to look into the history and then maybe stretch a line, and then it's simply linear thinking. Yesterday 10, today 20, tomorrow 30. This is not how tech companies work. They have discovered the value of data. For a tech company, it's irrelevant if they sell cars, heaters, bananas, or tomatoes. For them, it's mostly data. It's a data-driven approach. So here it's this huge clash, why I'm laughing about the German industry, that as long they have not understood, they would be able to understand. But right now they are still trapped in their own thinking, silos, hierarchies, and so on. The tragedy, what I've mentioned at the beginning of this talk, when you asked me about my opinion of the Chinese, it's there are several players that can become very powerful. If the German car industry does not wake up and the window is closing, I'm expecting in 10 years, not 3 premiums, maybe just one. The rest will disappear. There are 2 possible scenarios. The first one, that the German premiums will merge into a new Auto Union. So trying to stay a German brand, if it's combined, whatever, doesn't matter. They will not, if you combine right now their sales numbers, they will not stay that big because the need is not there. Due to the pandemic, at the beginning, the sales numbers went down. They are recovering, but still nothing really exciting. So for the Germans, the biggest markets is United States, now recovering a bit, and China. It's a completely wrong focus. I mean, it's like if you would do your business just with one client. This is deadly. And here this approach from merging into one German conglomerate would mean BMW 2.5 million, Volkswagen 10 million, Daimler, I forgot how many millions, doesn't matter. They will not sum up to this huge number. It will be reduced, massively reduced. Second scenario is that 2 of these 3 will simply disappear, die out, like dinosaurs. They will be replaced. If I should give a bet or spend some money onto who could survive, right now, in this moment, I would look onto Daimler. Okay. Because their biggest shareholder is Geely.
Mm.
And Geely from China, very active in electric vehicles. Their cooperation with Baidu is very, very interesting. They already own Volvo, and we know how innovative Volvo became.
Yeah.
So here, if this second scenario continues, and if they simply get Daimler as part of their empire, then it's done for a BMW or Volkswagen. That's simply it
Yeah,
is.
I think so. I mean,
I'm
that's what I'm afraid of.
Yeah. So here is this big danger that the German industry will be reduced just to a infrastructure supplier. So what are they best in? Means, for example, the suspension, the engineering in whatever. So these core where it's really, really something exceptional. If you've ever drove a Porsche, it's really amazing how it drives. But maybe small numbers for Porsches or Jaguars or whatever. The big numbers for electric vehicles will simply be maybe also due to the fail of the GIT right now in pandemic. This just in time is something when Altmaier flies to Taiwan to beg for, can you deliver our industry more electronic parts? Come on, it could have been expected. So I see here also some kind of awakening in local, more decentral production, a global decentralization. So that you are not that much depending on the supply chains, that if it breaks down, you can simply react. More local manufacturing, 3D printing. In Berlin, there is this big rep, a huge 3D printing startup that are already able to print a whole motorcycle, the frame and so on, what you had simply to assemble in the past. I've seen at the Bote a 3D printer that was able to print a boat hull of 15 feet, something like. It's amazing. So this is in progress. And so in future, maybe you as someone who would need a car, you would download from a designer an approved design. It would be printed out, the whole carrosserie, the whole outer shell. You will get your parts from here, from there. Battery will be delivered from China, electronics or whatever, and you will have a flavored, a small flavored, let's say here, northern of Munich. It will be something like whatever. But these huge conglomerates, beside of really multi industry companies, I see them die out if they only focus on just one thing.
Correct. Correct. Is it the mindset? So now it's perfectly going ahead with my next question. Is it the mindset or is it the infrastructure that we failed in the last 2-3 decades?
It's yes to both. As first, let's say from the 90s, we switched into more of this globalization, the socialistic communistic regime collapsed. So most of these companies simply went shopping, became bigger and bigger and bigger. Means also this one merge of Chrysler and Daimler. Come on, if we are serious, it was only done to enable the C-level to get lots of money for nothing. This turned into, there is also the so-called Lopez effect, where you as a huge company with enough power, you are putting pressure on your suppliers. The modern car manufacturers are not really manufacturing anything. They are assembling. It's like a kind of professionalized IKEA where the suppliers deliver you stuff. Okay, you don't have to stitch it
Thank you,
together.
Mr. Ford. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So this is really the real innovation was somehow shifted towards the suppliers. They have a huge power simply to raise out of this like a phoenix, simply became more powerful than the automotives. So this Lopez effect, simply to put everything onto several pillars to pressure down the costs and yada yada. Our companies became ruled by accountants and controllers. So this past engineer, this past genius that had this amazing idea is now controlled by the budget. So this fancy idea that he has on something really amazing, he has to do it with the lowest price delivered parts, maintain, and so on and so on. So the stuff that we are building right now is, to be honest, crap. It's not reliable. It's not what really it stood for. Made in Germany was something really exciting. Right now, it's just one of many. If you see a second development, with the beginning of Corona or last year, BMW sent out a letter to their suppliers, whining a bit that Corona is so hard and we need to yada 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 pay us back. I think 5% was it? It was in the media of the paid invoices. Simply what we paid you, pay us 5% back. Seriously, come on! It's like if your clients would come back to you and say, it's hard, I don't know how to pay my rent and so on, so give me a bit of money back. You have to pay your bills as well, as I do, as the suppliers have to do. So here we have this kind of really, I would not say greedy behavior, but it's really strange.
Simply suppressing your suppliers. It's just
exactly. Look, we have done this already in the banking crisis, 2008 to 2010, where billion euro funds have to be set up to support them not to go bankrupt. So this is kind of repeating. Right now, it's not the banks, it's whatever. So this is for this infrastructure behavior. GIT, where we are saving money on warehousing and so on. It's simply what we are saving as industry is paid, in fact, by the tax payers. Because if a truck with the spare parts is driving around your plant again and again, and these people are delivering in time, so means they are always driving on maximum. So more emissions, more fuel consumption, this more heavy load on the street. It's somehow, come on, it's like with the nuclear energy.
Correct. It's just nonsense.
Exactly. So this is about the infrastructure. Let's face to the mindset. Due to our understanding of working, due to the competition, due to our education, it already starts when we are born, when we are little children, we are multi-perspective. Competition is something we do it in a playful way, but we are very good in cooperating and collaborating. As soon you enter our educational system, it's beaten out of your head. We are getting into this linear thinking, focusing, use your elbows. You are in permanent competition. We completely forget to be interested into the others. We are only focused on getting your Abitur, studying to get a high-paid job. What nonsense. We are in jobs that we don't like, to make money we don't need, to buy shit we don't need, to impress some, sorry to say, assholes we don't like. This is our life cycle. And now it's very interesting to observe the new generations when they enter the market, when they are in their interviews, and they ask you, what about a part-time job? And the HR guy is completely frustrated because why a part-time job? We want you for a full-time job. You will need the money. No, I don't need. because I care about my work-life balance. I want something purposeful. And here, purpose is also something in the German industry, in some 25% of the fresh from the university return their contract within 4 weeks.
I know that study.
Simply saying, I can't work for you. So these high stars where everyone wanted to work for, these super cool whatever, that are, by the way, right now firing people, they simply do not want to enter this treadmill to be part of something. And the interesting here becomes that also the older generations see this. They are aware of it. And right now, due to this huge rift in the industry where Daimler released or set free 35,000 people, Volkswagen, and so on, Audi, BMW, and so on, these people who is leaving, of course, does not for free. And these people enter the market and they say, never again. So these times where the average stay in a corporate, BMW was, for example, very proud on 26.3 years, average stay, is now going down. Yeah. Exactly. Because you have people, and this is what the industry does not understand, you have people that are not interested into the brand, they are interested into the task. So they come on board to work on autonomous driving, and if it does not fit into their expectations, they simply leave. So here we are having these high potentials that stay in a project for 6 months, 9 months, 1.5 years, or leave after 2 years. One friend, she made her PhD in machine learning, a very bright mind. Simply after 2 years, she said, I can't work here anymore. And she got an excellent offer as a professor for computer science in the US. That simple it is. The younger generations, or the ones who are now looking for a purpose in their lives, they are hopping from one excitement to another excitement.
Very good. Yes. What jobs are going to stay? This is, our conversation is going so great that in the same direction. I mean, first of all, I'd like to give good news or bad news to external people like you and me. So I have my opinion about externals, but I'd like to hear it from a person like you. How will the distribution, will the companies need externals in the future? And as much as they did, so because we consultants have got a very bad name as well, so as you know, so or are they so far smart enough to strengthen their internal people that we external will always have our space in the market? I don't know, so I'd like to ask you.
Well, my experience in the industry in the, let's say, last 20 years is simply these externals were always needed, because if they do their job well, they will get an offer simply to get them on board. So this is some kind of high-class hiring procedure. You know them, you get some kind of demo. If they are good enough, you take them over. And it's the problem of the agency, of if it's a body leaser, if it's a huge consultation company, simply to get someone new on board. It's their problem. This is the first issue. Second thing is that right now with this digital transformation, yada, 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 I prefer mostly to speak about dynamic transformations, because as I said, the digital one is just one perspective. If you look into tech companies, let's say the big F, they need another transformation. It's not digital. They are already digital. They are ruling this digital market. They would need some kind of ethical transformation. So everyone needs something different. Returning to the industry. this huge mindset change that the industry needs to perform, where they would need to skip this hierarchical model, these silos, processes. In fact, it's locking us away. It's like a prison. And hierarchies is, for example, a military. It was borrowed from the military. We humans, we don't think in that way. This is right now becoming a huge issue for the classic industries. So their wish to become the next competitor to Apple is simply impossible. Look what kind of problems they have to develop a proper car operating system, focusing on programming. We have so many projects ongoing, initiatives ongoing to get back the internal knowledge or the knowledge into internals. We had, for example, in the industry this KEL 0100, Kerneigenleistung, internals 0, externals 100. So we've been just steering these people and they have done the work. Of course, we should get it back, and so, but we can't. The classic worker in a corporate has his nest. He is familiar with this. He knows how to deal with it. Now you have this huge disruption in we need to react. We need to become profitable again. Now you have to do agile, Scrum, Kanban, and all of this. It's disrupting. It's like cleaning your hamster's place. Every time you clean it up, he's completely stressed because everything changed. And we have more and more people becoming sick out of this. They don't feel appreciated anymore. They don't feel valuable anymore. And please remind me, I will say one more word for this. So here, getting back this knowledge to enable the people has one major problem: the HR departments. One part of this problem are HR departments, because mostly they are not really there for the employees. They are like a kind of firewall for the management to keep everything from the management away. So these people don't really understand the employees and their needs. And if you want to re-educate people to do something new, you have to invest. So instead of HR, human resource, they should value them as human capital or human asset, because you need to invest into them. They are valuable, they are loyal, they are the future. It's very interesting that in my corporate history, I made several times these team structure according to Belbin or Gallup Strength Finder, and so I know everything, how I am, what I'm best in, yada yada yada. No one cares. It's just a piece of paper. So you have it, print it out, put it on your table, and then nothing. So instead of, I had one guy in logistics in my past history. He is an uneducated person, just Hauptschule. Means he will not make a huge career. He has this Tarif Era 5 and so on. And he was so interested into 3D printing. He bought several of these printers. He even borrowed some money for this. He has such a deep knowledge. I don't know one single expert on the market who could serve my need on his knowledge. The issue is, in the corporate, no one cares, because his silo is logistics and no one cares about it. If the corporates, if the HR in the corporates would try to understand what the passion of these people is, how much could we do together?
Yeah, indeed. But if HR departments are the weakest in every corporate, as you know, so these are the weakest departments. When there's talent development or talent management, etc., is then then they take a look at the costs.
Exactly.
And then they started, now it's because it's so in, I'm just going to talk about the company. So come a couple of you know
Mm-hmm.
executive search companies, Corn Ferry and whatnot.
Yeah.
They just invested in a nice software. I don't think it even cost 1 million euros or something nice. They started analyzing people on KI. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, IA.
Yeah.
AI, I'm sorry. So it's unbelievable. How can you, I mean, and we all know that how the artificial intelligence works with the algorithms. So you cannot foresee somebody or analyze somebody based on their reaction time.
Mm-hmm.
And so on, right? So I just don't want to write it on more. But I mean, is that all? Are these the answer to just test people for 300 euros in 20 minutes because they're called Corn Ferry to just put people under this kind of tests?
It's nonsense. I mean, I had also in evaluation several things where a video interview is then analyzed and yada yada. As first, these algorithms that we have, if something goes wrong, it's not the problem here, it's the problem of the data. We are collecting data that is biased. You have a completely different expectation on data, so you see it from your angle. I have a different expectation. So when we put together our data, it's already biased by our own expectations, by our experiences. This is the first and biggest mistake that all of these algorithm delivers do. Second thing is that the approach is simply wrong. It's like a shofar that makes a rating of something completely unknown. This is nonsense. We should, in fact, understand AI as a supportive technology. It should serve our needs. Means instead of using it as a weapon against you, they should give you these algorithms to analyze how you work. It should be unconditionally. Means this thing should analyze what are your recurring tasks, what kind of reportings you do, what are these nonsense work every day, and take it away from you. So that we humans, what we are paid for, it's not doing this nonsense work, it's our creativity, it's our capability to react in a different way, to do something unexpected. They have to get along with this. Because we don't understand this right now, all of these magic, we will find you the best, whatever. If these companies would not rate you in a way like, can you do this job, or how fast you react onto a question. It depends also on your personality. Are you an introvert or are you an extrovert? So of course you react in a different way. If the HR guy or simply if the question is nonsense question, if it does not fit into your life experience, you are of course stuck and think about, what the hell are you asking me? So of course there are different questions. Instead, they should focus on showing you skills. What are you able to do? Even surprising you in a way like, hey, have you known that you have also this kind of completely beautiful possibility here? So again, these companies should turn in a helpful way, not in a cleaning woman, simply to clean everything away. This brings us into your previous question. Are consultants still needed, or are externals still needed? Yes, more than ever. Because we corporates are still stuck in our thinking. Example, automotive. We don't, or cross industry is rare. Mostly From company A, when these people leave, they go to company B or to company C. So it's like a kind of incest family where you simply stay within. How should something new come into this? You need fresh blood. And here, my wish, for example, now I will say something very mean. When the old CEO of BMW announced that he will leave, I've even been asked who would be my favorite. And out of these two favorite people that were then competing for this job, I said none of them. Because really, to become innovative again, really to become curious again, we would need someone who is not in automotive, who came completely from outside. Second, someone who is not German. We need a new, fresh approach. And third, a female.
Yeah.
What have we done? We took someone as a CEO who is since ages at this company, who understands how to fold tin, how to build combustion engines, and he replaced the key players like the chief strategist, like the CIO, with his own buddies, which is again closing away everything outside and doing, you are staying in your box. No, we are building these boxes.
Indeed.
It's with this digital transformation that is going into a completely wrong way. All of these transformation experts, sometimes they leave, or mostly they leave these companies not because the job is done, but because you won't change. This is misunderstood by the industry because they see, okay, these guys are now leaving, so we've done a good job. Perfect, yes, continue like ever. They never talk to these guys. Why have you left? If you observe their career then ongoing, how they develop, they go onto a meta level simply because they've seen, okay, this one specific player can't transform. How can I help the industry? So he goes onto a different level. Or he changes completely the industry and says, we'll die out. During all of these agile and whatever we have, we simply don't understand it. It's about the mindset. Just by putting some soccer tables into the coffee kitchen, ping pong, and so on, just by hiring these white sneaker guys. I really hate them.
Yeah.
Red Bull in the one hand, latest gadget in the other one, and they are simply not disrupting the industry, they are destroying the industry. Because their approach is to pretend. They have made maybe during their MBA one business plan, or they made sometime as an intern in a startup. They have completely no idea what they are doing. But
Yeah.
because they are fancy, they wear white sneakers, skinny jeans, have their undercut, they are presented as the next disruptive whatever. What these guys, why they are dangerous? Because of their non-existing experience of how work is. They brought into the corporates this school bullying into these safe environments. And I mean, in the past, it was quite easy. You had your hierarchies, you had your silos, you had to understand what kind of clique was talking with whom and so on. So it was easy. So understanding that with this boss, you should not talk about this one, simply not to come into trouble. With these white sneaker guys, an ignorance came into our corporates, where these people simply say, you don't talk to these ones because we don't like them. Now you have to decide between this clique and these guys who are so powerful, who became so powerful. It's completely mind-blowing. So now you have two war zones and you can only lose.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, they are there, but you pointed them so well, and how useful actually they are. I mean, they are the sneaker wearing energy vampires in the corporates, and then even they are to be found in SMEs and also
Yes.
startups today, as you yourself know. Last question,
Yes.
and tough question this time is actually, I don't know if it's tough. What jobs are going to disappear in the next 10 years?
In the next 10 years, my bet is, for example, accountants. Accountants, everything that you could also do with an Excel sheet. So all these reporting things, RPA right now, RPA, CPA, BPM, so robotic process automation, cognitive process automation, business process management, modeling, and so on and so on. There is a huge shift in the market. I'm also doing a lot of consultation for investment companies, for higher consulting, and so on and so on. I'm frequently booked right now to explain this and what do I think about this and that and how my experiences and so on. Due to Corona, right now, when we are firing people, when we also see that we don't need a glass castle to represent my company, because when the people are remote, so here this cost reduction already started when the controllers see, okay, I don't need to pay the coffee for the employees, the cleaning woman, and the new white gold toilet paper is not stolen from the places. So they see how much money they can save, of not traveling.
Yeah, exactly.
And so on. So this already started. This will not go back again. So here the management, especially the German management, the Vorgesetzte, have to adapt. Now it becomes visible that they are not really needed. Management is the next one when you ask me, because to really be successful, and I hope that we will go into a completely different economical system and corporate system, collaboration, cooperation. So here, this over-management is not needed. There are slightly signals of unbossing companies. So getting rid of these. So accountants, bosses, more into self-organization.
You won't need any top executives, top managers anymore who make...
Less.
Okay.
All of these, I mean, in Germany, we are differentiating between AFK, MFK, OFK. So this AFK, for example, allgemeine Führungskraft, these basic managers, you don't need them. They are completely irrelevant. The MFKs is simply this battleground to become an OFK. So more or less, OFKs have to wake up a bit, because what they are paid for is not really, I mean, come on. Lufthansa, we gave them 9 billion and they fired 35,000 people. BMW got for Kurzarbeitergeld their money support and immediately paid out the shareholders. Come on.
A couple of top managers,
Exactly.
They all year long at home, rode their horses, sailed their
exactly.
ships, and well, you know, this is unbelievably unfair.
It's unfair.
These are guys who are wearing this. They're afraid of the youngsters who are innovative. Yeah.
And my bet is that, for example, from these Asian companies, more and more algorithms will come into the market who are supporting decisioning, transparent, unbiased, through a bias mitigation tool, simply to take out the bias of your data. So here, this kind of bureaucracy has really the power to be slimmed down.
Very good.
So what we will need is creativity. We will need people, HR, simply going away just to manage resources into becoming one of the strongest part in a corporate, to understand the people, to figure out what are their needs, what is their passion, to really understand how we could put him into something meaningful. HR, HC, then hopefully, has the power really to become one of the most important parts in a corporate.
At the moment, they're defined.
Yes.
Yeah, they're weakest, and they're given to female most of the time, who would like to do part-time jobs, etc. So that's not the way to go. I think we will just do another interview again in
Excellent.
German, and then let's shake the German thinking managers, German speaking managers. Let's shake them alive. But thank you very much for this wonderful interview. One cannot enough of Jay Latta. Ladies and gentlemen, this was an interview with Jay, and click on him, find him on the internet. He is one of the best consultants that is still innovative and lots of power in the market. So in this sense, thank you very much from Berlin. Thank you very much to you to Munich, and all the best, everyone. Take care.
Thanks a lot. See ya. Bye-bye.